Uh, a very good evening to everyone here. And while we get started, may I request you to put into the text chat a quick intro about yourself. As Shanti said, quick ground rules. One, to inform you that session is being recorded and participants can choose not to participate through use of microphone or camera. Though we would like you to have your cameras on and participate wholeheartedly. I also request all of you to keep your audios muted to minimize disruption, unless you're asking questions. So with that, I'm totally excited about the session and we'll get straight into it. The session will be orchestrated between me and Kunal. So Kunal is a ICF certified coach who works with senior executives on leadership transformations, and during his professional career he has worked across range of roles from entry level to senior leadership. And Kunal's professional exposure includes decade-long leadership experience at Nielsen, where he established company's presence in the e-commerce space. Before I get any further, let us quickly talk about ICW, the ICF International Coaching Week, which is an annual event organized by International Coaching Federation to celebrate and promote the power of coaching in various aspects of life. During this week-long celebration, coaches, clients, and organizations come together to raise awareness about coaching and its benefits. The International Coaching Week serves as an opportunity to showcase the impact of coaching on personal growth, professional development, and organizational effectiveness. It aims to bring attention to the role of coaching in empowering individuals and teams to achieve their goals, enhance their performance, and create positive change. The event is celebrated globally with numerous activities and events taking place in both in person and online. This event is one of those. These activities include workshops, webinars, panel discussions, coaching demonstrations, networking events, and pro bono coaching sessions. Coaches from different backgrounds and specialties share their expertise and insights, offering invaluable resources and support to participants. So, importance of ICW for working professionals from different industries and functions lies in transformative potential of coaching, which ranges from helping an individual with clarity, goal setting, skill development, performance improvements, career transitions, work-life balance. And I think I don't have to preach to the choir here. As an individual attendee, ICW events provide an opportunity to gain self-awareness, expand your network, and learn from experienced coaches and professionals from diverse backgrounds. In summary, ICW, the ICF International Coaching Week, is a global celebration that highlights the power of coaching in professional and personal development. It is an important event for working professionals from different industries and functions, as it offers opportunities for growth, skill development, goal achievement, and enhanced performance. That being said, the goal for this year is exploring your potential. And I will now invite Dr. Winston Jacob to lead us through an opening note on ICW with focus on exploring the potential. Before I hand it over to him, I'll just introduce Dr. Winston, who obviously doesn't require introduction to all the folks here. He is a certified, chartered and accredited professional consultant with a proven track record spanning 50 years, 33 of which have been in Papua New Guinea. He is the chairman of Selvin Consult Limited and former ambassador of Global University for Lifelong Learning. Has 50 years of professional experience as a management consultant. He has successfully revived large and small organizations, having restructured them to profitability. He's involved in training managers and directors globally, also serves as a board member with over 14 organizations. As I said, I can go on, but I'll stop now and hand it over to Dr. Winston for his opening address. Let us put our hands together in welcoming Dr. Winston. Over to you, Dr. Winston.
Thank you very much, Munal, for that introduction. I'm really humbled to be with you all today. I think it's a wonderful day today, and we have started this ICW Coaching Week, which our chapter leading the Coaching Week, which is a great privilege and honor. We've got a very good theme for this Coaching Week: explore your potential. And how does one do that? And it's an ideal theme for this International Coaching Week. And I would like to share with everyone that we've actually started this coaching week going right down to the grassroots levels, where our chapter has been conducting pro bono coaching for the past few years very successfully. And just after I speak with you all, Shanti will be sharing a clip that we had of showcasing the board of directors and the participants of the faculty that was trained, coached in Agastya. And I would strongly recommend all my friends who are gathered here today, if you are interested, we'll be very happy to take you along to showcase what actually is being done by the chapter right at grassroots level to improve the less fortunate ones who don't have the opportunity of coaching. So we've taken the liberty, despite the COVID, which brought about all of us to go virtual. We decided we'll start the coaching week by doing a face-to-face awareness campaign, and we've gone right down. It was a 5-hour journey, but very interesting journey, and I congratulate my team who came along with me, and we were able to listen to the coaches of what they have experienced, and that has been a wonderful thing to hear. So my dear friends, I'd like to welcome you all today with arms open, and we've got some wonderful panels today. The first panel will be developing coaching as a culture. We've got 4 or 5 good speakers there, and the next panel is how to master coaching, how to be a master coach. I think I shouldn't take more of this time, give the time to them to share what they've got to say. And I would hand it over now after Shanti will actually showcase the video that we took and give also the link to everyone interested to hear the comments of all the coaches over there. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please enjoy the coaching week.
For India, it's a proud moment that we had the entire board of ICF USA coming to New Delhi, and they just were rapt to see the arrangements that we had made for them.
I am learning, and I have given a target to myself. Without learning something new, I am not authorized to see it. That's the target and goal I have given to myself.
Enjoying this journey of coaching, because I realized that nothing can give you more fulfillment than empowering people's lives.
I couldn't read, so I bought books. I kept buying it, but that was not happening.
And associated with Agastya, that I have been learning continuously as Dr. Winston was telling, that every coaching session was a
foundation is the way it is making background with children and all the people, particularly the people who come not from a very amazing, great, rich backgrounds. So
I am just pursuing my PCC, my second level coaching. Background-wise, I'm a born and brought up Malaysian, so I'm not from India. My association with India is about 10 years old. 10 years old of tech.
Thanks, Dr. Winston, and for really an engaging session and also encouragement to coaches who helped explore the potential. So we now move towards the panel discussion, moderated by Shanti Sharma. Again, all of you know Shanti. So she is a learning and organizational development professional with 26 plus years of work experience, out of which 23 plus years have been dedicated to learning and development. She specializes in creating learning journeys that are carefully and intentionally crafted to cater to a blend of modalities and learning preferences. She is an ICF PCC certified coach and a coach to transformation certified mentor coach. She is also on ICF Bengaluru Chapter board as a director of learning and events. As I said, I can continue on with an impressive list of accomplishments. I will hand over to Shanti to introduce the panel and moderate the discussion. Let us put our hands together for Shanti.
Thank you, Mandar. It always feels so good when people talk about you. So thank you for doing that to me. So yeah, we are going to start with the MCC panel. So we have an elite group of MCCs here with us today to share their thoughts on the theme Explore Your Potential. There is going to be a slide introducing the panelists, but the slide is for you to read. I'm going to talk about things that are not on the slide for you as we go through the introductions. First up, if I may call Alan Main, if I'm hoping I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Alan, what you didn't know is that we're going to start with a rapid fire. So I will give you 3 words, and whatever comes to your mind, the first word or reaction that comes to your mind as soon as you hear the word is what we will like to hear. I've given you a bit of heads up, but before then, Alan is an MCC with more than 4,000 hours of coaching experience. And last time I heard Alan, he said he's on a slow burn journey, so he's not rushing to get his hours. So that stuck with me. He's mentored several hundreds of executives to integrate a coaching style to their leadership and to acquire professional coaching credentials. Authentic, insightful, and reflectively challenging, he supports executives to powerfully fulfill their evident and implied leadership initiatives. His coaching credentials is a long list, of course, starting with MCC, from ICF, Erickson Certified Professional Coach, Certified Team Coach, Executive Coach, Hogan Certified Coach, Harrison Certified Coach, so on and so forth. Alan has had the privilege of working with several organizations and really big names here: Asian Paints, Aditya Birla, Abbott, CK Birla Group, Deloitte, GMR, Johnson & Johnson, JK Group, Metro Services, Mahindra & Mahindra, Nielsen, PwC, Philips, SAP Labs, Sun Pharma, Vodafone, VFS Global, and World Bank. Alan, if I've missed any, please add to that list. Alan has a keen interest in science and technology, automobiles, motorcycling, DIY electronics is what got my attention, vintage and classic audio, equipment restoration, yet another hobby that I really got onto, music, food, and traveling. So can we spotlight Alan for his rapid fire words? And Alan, not more than 2 seconds to think. Coaching.
Wow. Okay. Coaching, anything. Just a second. Surprise.
Client.
Partner.
Barrier.
To be broken.
Lovely. Thank you, Alan. Thank you so much. Next, if I may call upon Lenny. Lenny, hi. We've seen how people have been missing you. So there is some stuff on the slide for people to read. While I'm going to start with Lenny's professional and academic qualifications, which is a long list. Harvard certification in building a global enterprise in India, post-graduation in human resource management from IIM, bachelor's in hospitality management from IHM New Delhi, certifications in MBTI, facilitative emotional intelligence, transactional analysis, situation leadership, competency mapping, metaphors of movement. I was very intrigued by that. I'm not sure what that is, so we'll talk about it a little later. Strong interest in inventory assessment and Enneagram profile. Such a wonderful breadth of experience and knowledge that you bring, Lenny. She's schooled from Cathedral and John Connon, Mumbai, and Loreto House, Kolkata, and thereafter she did a Bachelor's of Arts from Delhi University. Lenny, with over 30 years of experience, has worked with several IT, manufacturing, consulting, banking, retail, and hospitality domains. She has held management positions and launched projects, turned around 6 business units, and launched innovative products and services. Since 2014, she has facilitated leaders and has been an executive coach to a number of Fortune 500 companies. I'll just read a few: IBM, HP, Siemens, KPMG, Airbus, and the list is very long. Since 2002, Lenny has been a catalyst coach and in leadership committees for social initiatives and community services like initiatives of change and SSVP. Why we all know Lenny so well is because she was one among the founder members of the ICF Bengaluru Charter Chapter. So welcome, Lenny. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Your rapid fire words: potential.
Spiritual strength.
Best ever coach.
Sorry, best
ever coach.
When you've cut through a leader's potential to his highest performance.
Competency.
Practice.
Excellent. Thank you, Lenny. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Shanti, for that illustrious introduction.
It is illustrious. I was like so happy to, pick and choose, and still there is so much left that I could not read. But yeah, there's only so much time we have. Nikhil, very good evening.
Good evening.
I won't read what's there on the slide, but Nikhil brings his insightful expertise in developing leaders and managers in demonstrable and sustainable ways to help them adapt their approaches to challenges and opportunities where they can be their most capable, creative, and calm selves. As a certified counselor, he is experienced in emotional counseling as well. He is an MCC and has mentored me at some point in time. With that, your 3 rapid fire words, Nikhil: explore.
Explore is where it's just that journey into one's potential.
Bottom lining.
Bottom lining is really the specificity with which one arrives at to take the next steps, which is taking action.
And the tough one: best ever client.
Best ever client would be one who is really curious about themselves.
Ooh, love that. Thank you. Thank you. With that, if we can have all the panelists spotlighted. And my first question to the panel is going to be definitely around the theme: what does explore your potential mean to you? We'll start with Lenny.
Well, I think most of us relate to one thing, which is becoming more aware of your strengths, values, passion, and purpose. But I think the second thing that I would add to that list is really discovering how you can leverage your spiritual strength, your highest being, and what that is. It's a discovery journey. I think one of the challenges that humanity has is not believing in themselves. And for me, that would be really exploring potential, what it means.
Thank you. Alan.
Okay, so potential is theoretical. Potentially, everyone here could be a pilot in 3 years' time if you really want to. You may not choose to. Could be a doctor. Multiple, infinite almost possibilities contained in this one word called potential to be or to do or to have anything that you really want. But that's the theoretical part. So that is only theory, but I think for me, the key word is explore. And dare to explore, rather, not just to explore. dare to explore your own potential, and change the infinite kind of life which is in front of you. Which door are you going to open next? And to break out of that stereotype that you are this person, or you're a coach, or you are this, maybe sequential career, sequential interest, lifespans are increasing. What a wonderful world that we live in.
Thank you, Alan. Lovely perspective. Nikhil.
Potential in exploring it. Well, potential is, one really gets down to a dictionary meaning. It's something which is latent, hidden, not evident. Something which is partially developed, underdeveloped, really referring to the realm of possibility, right? What is a possibility? It's not an inevitability. It's something which you can't take for granted. And exploring it is increasing the probability of that desirable possibility manifesting, right? So what would it be, in direction of what? Typically, the way that we, when we interact with our environment, be it social or physical, I think it was Socrates who said that, or was it Plato? The unexamined life is not worth living, right? So there is this element of being self-aware, and in a way monitoring, or at least noting what's happening. And when that's not happening, the exploration goes awry. So we tend to develop a lot of anxieties and negativities. So really it's moving from there into what could be. That's the desirable. It would be, what would lead to meaning in life, whatever we do, work, relationships, any activity, even outside of work. So that for me is exploring potential.
Yeah, Nikhil, you spoke about what can hold us back. So if I can pose the next question also to you, with regards to what are some of the common barriers to exploring one's own potential, and how do you help your coachee overcome them?
See, one of the things which, when one coaches at a deeper level, right? Let's say you're looking really for a result where individuals would get a more permanent benefit in terms of the way they change their approach to things, is to go into the person, right? So addressing the person, typically, like I was mentioning, all of us do it. We develop our anxieties, and then spend a lot of our energies, metabolic energies, as I call it, just trying to manage those anxieties, and losing out on so many opportunities to possibly, even the courage to explore our potential. So a common barrier, if one goes at a slightly deeper level, because there would be many examples that I could give, would be, one is these kind of anxieties. It could be social, dealing with people, or, it could be something as simple as the fear of giving a public speech, to maybe making a presentation if you're talking in a corporate context. Or it could be, just if I'm more introverted as a personality, right? I find it much more daunting to deal with a lot of people at the same time. And if on the other hand, I'm very extroverted, I find it daunting maybe to be more vulnerable in a, relationship, or even to be a very inspiring leader, because one needs to be more equal with the other to really get through to people. So that's one. The other is, in coaching, one finds clients to make mental mistakes. Yeah. So that's the other area. And what I would call, as our sense of self, we become it's pretty fragile for many of us, definitely for me, right? And we kind of touch that when we are going into trying to develop ourselves, and so it is with clients. So typically, if I am a fragile ego, I would find myself having to deal with, so many no-go areas, which I'm worried that, oh, this might, show me in a bad light, or I might lose the approval of people. So whatever it could be, there are so many. So those are the common barriers. How do you overcome them? I think, you give, if you were to ask me what coaching means, it's a relationship, right? You give a relationship through a conversation where I think the client kind of, in a way, reciprocates your attitude as the coach towards himself or herself. Little more confidence, little more courage to explore, a little more positivity, right, about what is going right. And that builds in the self-awareness and hopefully unties the knots and the barriers.
Thanks, Nikhil. Definitely a lot of responsibility on both parties, both the coach and the client. Beautifully called that it's a partnership. And then Lenny, anything you want to add to what Nikhil said? You're on mute,
Yes,
Lenny?
after Lenny, I think after Lenny, yes.
Sorry. Yeah, I think primarily, we all have conditioned minds as we grow up, in the way we have been brought up, our childhood, our adulthood, our experiences. So there's a lot of conditioning of the mind, not only by family, but also by society, expectations of places we work in, even communities, right? So those are some things that are blockers. Also things like, for example, what our perception is about failure, right? How do we look at, what does failure do to us? And what are factors that we see as success factors, right? And if we have, if it's a limiting belief, then it limits you, right? So these are, I think, some very key things. Also, I would dip my thought into the whole spiritual aspect of karmic journeys, right? If we believe in that, if we have a philosophical bent of mind, it's also about looking at what are we getting challenged by, and is that something to do with our karmic journeys, and therefore what are we doing about it? Are we engaging with it, or are we running away from it?
Yeah.
So I think, and that's what I would like to add with all the very practical things that Nikhil shared. But one needs to go really much deeper and really look at all the things that are hidden below the iceberg, as they say, and work with that. Yeah.
Thanks, Lenny. Alan.
If I may add, I think great points, Lenny and Nikhil. So just for me, I think the biggest barrier is about inability to take chances. And Nikhil mentioned as, courage. So it could be courage. I think there is an attribute that is required to explore possibility, explore potential, because potential is there, as we said. Okay. That's never in question, though in corporate now we have started categorizing people by potential. High potential. What does it say about the other people? Okay, so that's for another day. But if you look at the human school of thought, humanistic school, that everyone has potential, maybe a different potential. Everyone has potential. But I think either to explore the potential within you or within the ecosystem in which you live, opportunities available. I cannot but think about Elon Musk for that tremendous chance he takes to explore potential. 116 million, 100 million in SpaceX, XY here. And he says that, I don't believe in that Instagram post. He says that he didn't have money to pay rent at the end of it. Okay, that's maybe a little drama, but the spirit of it, the man takes chances, incredible chances. So I think potential is the realm of people who are willing to take chances with their life. I just connect with one of my very keen interests of motorcycling, which I've been doing for the last 12 years. I'm a weekend rider, not a regular rider. Yesterday I was out on the open. So when you go solo, you don't have a destination, you only have a direction. So head north because it's cloudy, it's beautiful. Heading north alone, you don't know where you end up. I ended up in a place which I don't know how many of you have visited. It is the old Nandi railway station. I don't know how many of you have seen this. If you have not seen, you must see before it is renovated. It's like a page out of 100 years back. I just stumbled upon it. When I took the road, I didn't know whether there is something at the end of the road, whether you will have to turn back. You don't know what is ahead. But taking a chance and moving around, I've discovered hundreds of places which I would have missed if I had not seen in my life because of taking chances. So I think inability to take chance, because in order to get something new in your life, you may have to leave something you have in your hand. It is perhaps, like we say, the monkey holding that nut inside that pot. It knows that it can come out if it opens its hand, but it loses that peanut. And for that small peanut, it just kind of fizzles away the potential of freedom. So I feel I work with clients to dig deep into themselves and find that spot of courage. What are you going to lose? That's my take on this.
Lovely message, Alan. Take risks. You don't know what surprises await you. If you don't take risks, you don't get to, have a tete-a-tete with those beautiful encounters waiting for you. Alan, I'll start with the next question for you. Yeah. How do you tailor your coaching approach to suit different coaches' individual needs, their potential? What is it? How do you flex your style?
That's a great question. So I think one is to kind of sense their own opinion about themselves through initial conversations, and you continue to see their worldview. And only after you kind of sense their worldview, I feel, for people, this incredible thing called potential is like a spherical bubble around you, and it's got a boundary, and all the things within the boundary, I feel it is possible for me. I may or may not go for it, but if I want, I can achieve. And beyond the boundary are the things that I feel I just can't have it in my life. So this bubble, the spherical bubble, if you have to use the radius of that, is different for different people. I worked with both. I worked with expansive, with people who have a very expansive view of their potential and what they can be and do and have. And I also seen sometimes it's a very carefully curated bubble because of life experience, background, so many things. So I would say go gently, because you cannot cheerlead a change or propose a braveheart move. As a coach, anyway, you're not doing it, but sometimes the risk may be too much. So your standard of risk or your appetite for risk should never be imposed on your clients or world, because they have different things and you will never know. So I would say go with the client, understand their worldview, gently nudge, gently challenge. But some are ready to take a challenge and then you push. But otherwise, I think work with the white gloves, because it can be dangerous sometimes.
Loved your metaphor of the different radii for the different people, the bubble of what potential means to them. Lenny, Nikhil, what do you have to add?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Nikhil.
No, good. Done.
Yeah, I guess, it's really about the who. At MCC level, we're always saying, focus on the who, focus on the who. Who is this person? And the belief being that everybody is very unique, as Alan rightly said, boundaries of taking risk, boundaries of how much I want to be in control. All of these are things that limit us. And so when you're looking at, helping coaches, the more you listen to them deeply, when I say deeply, how they operate, how they think, how they emote, how they take actions, what they run away from, what they run towards, what their appetite for growth, inner growth more than outer growth sometimes, is really, put under the magnifying glass, really. So it's just about helping them look at things differently, with deep listening and actually, course, the ICF competency talks about evoking awareness, but it's really working with powerful questions to expand their mind and, break through all the limiting beliefs. And really explore themselves, right? If you look at any scripture, it always says that, mankind is God's most beautiful creation. The question is, how much do you believe it? And how much do you want to, what do you want from your life, and are you working with that? So it's really, I think Alan Wells said it in terms of where are your boundaries, where are you putting your limits, to sort of really look at it and say, why are you doing that, and what is it that is stopping you from getting to where you want to go or be, who you want to be, completely, at your higher self. I think that's where the focus needs to lie.
Lenny, I'll come back to you on the point that you touched around coach the person. I'll be back with you. Let's first hear Nikhil, and then I'll come back.
So, within the coaching process, the mindset, where one is not judgmental or curious, right? In fact, there's a lovely little poem by that American poet Walt Whitman, right? Be curious, not judgmental. It kind of it captures very well what puts you into that mindset, right? Easier said than done, because of our conditioning, we are all conditioned from very young age to be judgmental. That's how society works. It doesn't really care whether you end up being too judgmental about yourself either, right? That's where guilt, shame, and all of that comes. So how does one, adjust or customize one approach to an individual? It comes from my experience, it comes from just this, Lenny mentioned listening, deep listening, being with being curious, not concluding. That's how I understand judgmentalism, not concluding anything, just be curious. Where's the client coming from? What is their personal meaning when they say, right? So if you look at those, the PCC markers, it talks about listen to the words, listen to the emotions, energy, the nonverbal cues, all of that. That helps you read in a manner of speaking. It's not like you're reading something from a distance. You're being there, right? In tune, right? And what then happens is the curiosity asks you, it kind of makes you nudge that person to say, is that, something that, what does that mean for you? What else could it mean, right? In terms of possibility. And that's where the journey of exploration of possibility, the realm of possibility. We also already spoke about barriers. In my view, anxieties, it can beset a person. We all know that, right? From our personal experience. But what could open out, particularly using this relationship, to explore the other side of the spectrum, which is, I like to understand it, from the point of view, how can I make every interaction I have into a flow state, right? Or into a state, where I just enjoy the process of doing something towards a worthwhile goal. Yeah. And there is a continuity hypothesis there, saying that if I'm able to generate as a person, right? I'm able to generate insights into my situation, into my life, build that up into, what they say, cascades of insights into flow states, cascades of flow states into higher states of consciousness, right? Lenny was talking about the spiritual part. I'd see it that way. Higher states of consciousness. So in many ways, things begin to make meaning. Things begin to, the way that we solve problems at our level, what really matters to us. The fluency of that increases exponentially. So can I move a person from, not move really, it's not that I do it. Can I invite the other person to consider that there is this possibility that I don't need to be ending up feeling anxious or, helpless, hopeless, or angry and bitter. And I can move into, a higher state of consciousness, right? Or at least a flow state where things move, much more smoothly, as in much more capably, much more, they say the self dissolves, right? That internal dialogue disappears. Yeah, there's intrinsic reward. Can I move into that? Or can I, through the conversation, can the coachee move into that, right? So it's about tailoring, in the sense you're listening to the person and you're curious and it just flows. And it's not something extraordinary when you really come to think of it, right? It happens whenever you're with anyone who you're just being curious about. Judgment actually stops you. That closure stops you. I call judgment as closure. I've decided, okay, this is what it is. I put it into a pigeonhole or a compartment. It's practical, yes, to do that for action when I don't have more time to do anything. Yeah, we have to take a decision. But when you're trying to be with a person, there's no need to do that, right? And just that curiosity helps you, in my understanding, to tailor your entire coaching process, customized to wherever the client may be coming from.
Be curious, non-judgmental, look at the size of the bubble, and Lenny, to your point, coach the person. And we've all read and heard, Marcia Reynolds' catchphrase, coach the person, not the problem. Lenny, if I were to start by asking you, what connections do you see between this phrase, coach the person, not the problem, and the theme of the ICW, explore your potential, and how do you bring it to bear in your practice?
Sure. The moment you focus on the person, it's if you look at it, what is it that we are in control of? We are not in control of what's happening in the world, what happens to us, all of these things. You're not in control of that. Mm-hmm. But there's one thing you are in control of, and that's your response to life. Right? So if you can then focus on the person, irrespective of what the challenge or the goal or the situation they're dealing with is, you will not just, as the cliched phrase, give the person a fish when he's hungry for a meal, but instead of that, teach him how to fish. So every time a challenge comes, then in coaching, if you're focusing on the person, you help the person grow. Mm-hmm. And the outcome, solving his problem that he's brought to the table or she's brought to the table, is just one outcome of you coaching them. So when you focus on the person, it can become transformational, and it can actually, the insights and the aha moments that clients can, experience itself will propel them forward to, looking more deeply at themselves and see how they can bring their highest self out. So when you're looking at, focusing on the person, I would say the nature or the texture of your coaching needs to be inspirational.
Mm. How do you do that?
In fact, well, you can use various tools. For example, like appreciative inquiry is one such tool. But getting them to see what is right with them, what goes well with them, and what their journeys of learning are themselves. They've also gone through their journeys of learning. And how do you, work with that? Getting them to see the depository they already have, which very often they do not notice, right? I remember when I was in school and I was not terribly good at maths, and my father was a CA. And, the day that I got 85 out of 100, I thought I was like really ecstatic. And I went and showed him my marks and I said, oh, this is maths, but you could have easily got 100 on 100. So the focus was what I didn't get rather than what I did get, And this is exactly what happens to us. Our life is a journey, but we are all focused on goals. Mm-hmm. And the goal, even if you succeed in the goal, that lasts for what? 5 minutes, maybe a day, maybe a couple of days, maybe a week. And then after you
set the next goal.
Yeah. So, but that's not where life happens. Life happens in the journey. Right? But where are we celebrating that? Where are we even recognizing that? Not only about ourselves, but others as well. Right? Of course, it has to start with self. If you're not appreciative of yourself or not sort of contemplating and reflecting on who you are and what you're about, how are you going to help the others? So I would say starting point is to start with yourself. However narcissistic it may sound, right? But the thing is that unless you get that piece, your natural responses are not going to be appreciative, are not going to be inspiring, right? And the potential of human beings is incredible. I mean, for me, it's always, whether it's an Elon Musk or even the fact that we've reached the moon or Mars or wherever. I mean, how in heaven's name did that happen? First and foremost, somebody believed it was possible. Second, somebody had passion to want to get it there. And then the miracle, I mean, it's like, in a way, it's like a miracle, you know? But that is the potential of humanity, and never to forget that, right? And I would just say it's also about, wanting to lead yourself. Leadership, I don't think, is a position. It's a choice you make. Doesn't matter what level you're at as a role, or your seniority or your mastery, or all of that doesn't really matter. It's about how you deal with yourself at whatever level. You'll find phenomenal leadership qualities in people who are very young, who are, just growing in their careers. You can find incredible people, right? So I think there is no question about getting them to focus on themselves and believing how they have navigated challenges in the past, and how they can. What are they learning from all of humanity? We have a huge wisdom of repository of wisdom out there. And now with the internet access and all of that, and also cultural context, right? If you want to go, Nikhil was talking about consciousness. What is that? Even we have a whole cultural background in India of spiritual understanding or orientation. How are we even benefiting from that? Do we ask questions of philosophy in our coaching, for example? And I think these are things that can really help people, break out of their everyday challenges and work with their own inspiration, their own spirit. Yeah, that's what I think we need to look at.
You're making me powerful from within, Lenny. Let me check with Alan and Nikhil. What do you have to say?
Okay. So, Lenny, I really love what you said about you need to be inspirational and look at all the things that's working right for you, and you need to model that. And I'm fully with you about celebrating yourself first.
Yeah.
I perhaps tend to overdo that to myself. So I think that's a point of view. And I think it's also about this particular statement, coach the person, not the problem. I think as coaches, all of us are trained to always coach the person, not the problem. And unless you're a consultant who's called in to look at the problem, I think all solution-focused coaches naturally will shift the client's preoccupation from a problem state to figuring out solution quickly, I would say. We have all adapted doing that, quickly change the frame. Okay, say, this is the problem. I say, okay, so what would you like to see ideally changed? And shift gears with powerful questioning and, move it away from the what to the who and coach. So I think it's a part of our craft. So I think we are in a good place with this. Thank you.
Thanks, Nikhil.
So I'm fully with both Lenny and Alan. It's the journey, right? In fact, my understanding of a flow state is something which, flow states are sometimes, even scientists probably may not, they say that, it's all based on a subjective self-reporting. But if you look at it from the neuroscientific point of view, it's really about, what happens in terms of if one is tracking brain states, the flow of neurohormones or neurochemicals, the norepinephrine and the dopamine and endorphins and all of this. So even if you're looking at it from that point of view, I just happen to follow a few podcasts like Andrew Huberman's. So he gives the neuroscientific objective correlates of a subjective experience of flow states. So what is he talking about? He's saying that the same thing, how do I convert a worthwhile goal into an enjoyable journey, right? He gives various examples, for example, from They teach these Navy SEALs to survive, with virtually nothing there, right? And in extreme conditions. But how do they do it? They focus on what they can control. And doing that gives them the necessary, he of course calls it the dopamine reward. You can call it the intrinsic reward, which a flow state talks about, which is the same thing in my view. And if I can redo my entire, journey of life, what I am aiming to get the best out of life into this, right? Where I'm being able to enjoy the journey. It's also part of the growth mindset. It's also described that way by Carol Dweck, who said that, enjoying the struggle of learning, enjoying the struggle of growing. So we're talking about that. I'll bring in Carl Rogers here as well. What did he talk about, the self? So one looks at it a little more objectively, as he did, being a researcher, a self structure, right? Which navigates the environment. So I have this construct within me, which navigates my interaction with my environment. And it could be the social environment, it could be the physical environment. Can I be psychologically free, right? Is it possible for me to have the courage to go into all those, what my life experiences have created for me, those no-go areas, something like ghettos in a city, right? You're too scared to go there. But can I have that courage to go there? We talked about courage, expanding that ambition to explore. Can I go there? What would make me go there? And therefore, with that attitude, bring that reciprocity in my client to say that, okay, why not I also explore? I'm not saying that I just do it by example, but if I have that mindset, that congruence, as he says, Carl Rogers, the congruence and the, that positive regard unconditionally, that you can do it, right? It's something that I'm seeing. So I'm looking for those patterns in my client and saying, okay, what about that? It's working for you. That at least worked. If I'm just breaking it down into what worked. And then maybe the client then gets the courage to say, okay, let me take the baby steps towards that, right? And that's how it moves forward. So really, even if one looks at it from what I believe is the flip side of being anxious and depressed and, lacking courage or feeling, bitter and angry and blaming others, the flip side of that is what I'd call a flow state or a higher, taking it further into higher states of consciousness. And there, it's really about the self, that self structure actually dissolving in the very activity of living. Mm-hmm. Life itself means you forget about, comparing yourself with others. It's just what you're doing, right? I mean, there are so many examples of people who say, their entire, all their energies, which they bring into their attentiveness, attention, that goes into the activity. So I'm just saying, can we just do it in what we all, do as part of our most mundane activities? And then, of course, there will be always those big ticket, items or big ticket activities. But why not just, even with the very act, like we'll train as coaches, in just trying to understand another person who's talking. We're not judging them. Can we do that? And in doing so, we improve as people, because you go in so more deeply into another person's private world. Yeah? And that's what that person is. It's that self-structure with their stories and, right? But eventually for them to develop the courage to take the next steps, it's, they need to go beyond, say, a story of being a victim or story of being a, maybe a hero also, right? Or being a rescuer or whatever those kind of avatars that story puts that person into. Can we go beyond that? And can that self-structure dissolve in something bigger? So that's something which is an invitation to potential. That's how I see it. Addressing the person.
Lovely perspectives, Alan, Lenny, Nikhil. I can see the chat buzzing with comments and agreements and acknowledgements. But for a moment, I would like to turn the tables around. Moving from looking at exploring your potential for the client to exploring your potential for us as coaches. I'd like to ask all three of you, what have you done with yourself, for yourself, to explore your potential? Anyone who wants to start?
Okay, I think I will go. I've been coaching for 17 years professionally now. And as you build up your business, it's a business. And I have noticed myself, my own anxieties to retain a client, to be careful. And sometimes to hold myself back from what my heart is saying in order for something else. I think that has changed. But it took me 17 years. That's too much of a time. But now, what am I doing to explore my own potential is that I'm going in empty-handed and with a brave heart. And trusting the principles more than the process or tools. And the courage to close some profitable doors. And also choose your clients. Client has got a right to choose their coach. I think I took a leaf from Marshall Goldsmith. The people asked him, what is the secret of your phenomenal success as a coach? He whispers and says, it's a secret. Don't tell anybody. But the secret is that I choose to work only with the best.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yes.
How can I go wrong here? So, so just have that courage again, to take a chance and to find myself. Who am I as a coach? And to go with a spirit of serving, but serving myself as well. But go empty-handed. It's what I'm.
That empty-handed catchphrase is catching fire in the chat. Nikhil, over to you.
Right. So me, I love that phrase. Of course, it's very, be curious, not judgmental. Can I do it, even in the most mundane things of everyday life, right? So that I can, even if I'm watching, say, a TV serial or a movie, how habituated am I to making judgments about some character there or some person there, right? Because that's really what keeps us, under the radar. We just keep judging people, and it's total waste of, in my view, when you see it, a total waste of energy, because you just don't need to be judging those people, right? And then it comes in the way of our relationships as well later on, right? Whether it be, if one is in a leadership position, or whether it be in, evaluating someone for the purpose of making a decision is different from judging. Right? We're not really talking about, it's a pragmatic requirement. Yes, I have to maybe write somebody's report, right? Or I have to take a decision, so I have to work with what information I have and make a judgment. I'm not talking about that judgment. I'm talking about making closures and conclusions where it's not required, which is really, in my understanding, closing the doors of further understanding, right? So why should I do that? So that's one practice. Another is, I saw something about Buddha. I didn't quite read it, but what did the Buddha teach? Right? He taught practical praxis of, say, meditation, right? In a way, meditation is nothing but stepping out in our perceptions, right? Stepping out and looking at what we are looking through, the filters that we look through, right? Including our judgments and beliefs and all of that. So that's what meditation really was. It's not something that you need to sit cross-legged and keep staring at something. It's something that I see as something you should do on a moment-to-moment, day-to-day basis. Why can't I step out in a situation and look at it from a third-person observer position? In NLP, we have that perceptual position exercise, right? Mm-hmm. Or the empty chair, or whatever you might call it. Okay. Or even Peter Hawkins talks about, the stakeholders in the room, what are they saying? So you kind of imagine they're there and take their perspectives. So the point here is, can I develop that perceptual flexibility? One is to step out and look at. The other is to step in and look through, which is really about taking multiple perspectives. Einstein famously is supposed to have, advanced his theory of relativity by imagining that he's sitting on a ray of light or a photon, right? And is moving at whatever, 186 miles per second, 1,000 miles per second. What would, everything that he passes by look like, right? And it kind of gave him insights. Creativity, adaptability comes from this. There are so many stories from our, let's say, mythology, the 8 wise men and the elephant. Each in their own way were blind. Yeah, they're supposed to be blind men. Okay. Each in their own way were blind, but they were wise. But they couldn't really make out the elephant. I don't know if you heard the little story about the king calling them and asking them to tell him, what is this animal? So one said it's a rope because they touched the tail.
Yeah.
Another said it's a snake because they touched the trunk, and so on. But when they spoke to each other, and then they became more self-aware, and they knew, oh, this is an elephant, not a tree or anything else. So it's the same thing, the multiple perspective, right? So the perceptual flexibility is the other thing. And, what I've already touched upon, can I make even the most ordinary experience into a flow state, or into one of those things which, say, a Navy SEAL would, survive in extreme conditions, because he just focuses on what he can and learns what he can't, right? If he's got to make fire somewhere, he's got to do it with whatever is available.
It's my pleasure.
So, I believe that, it kind of increases. They say that fluid intelligence reduces with age, and we only use crystallized intelligence, using what we know and how to adapt it. But this is really fluid intelligence. It's really about how you merge with your environment, how you learn. So, okay, I know these are ideas only that I'm exploring, but I believe that's my potential. So, it is anybody's, and that's what makes me curious.
Lovely. Thanks, Nikhil. Lenny.
Well, I know we're running out of time, Shanti, so I'll make it short. But I think the 2 focuses. One is to be aware and conscious every day of where is your compass north. The second is a daily practice of self-reflection, self-contemplation, at the beginning of a day and at the end of the day. This is what I do, and I have been doing that for many, many years. Asking some very basic questions. What went well for you today? What are you grateful for? What have you learned today? If something is troubling you, what about it is troubling you? What are your thoughts about it? How are you feeling? And what do you think you need to do? Keeping in mind your compass north. Right? And I would say the thing that I have taken away from this practice a great deal is it evolves your consciousness. It also has helped me focus on what is inspirational in my life. So, for example, you have a challenge, you had a disturbing conversation with someone, right? So at the end of the day, if you're reflecting on it, to ask yourself, what is it that wanted you to engage in that conversation in the first place? It was your choice, right? Why did you choose that choice? There is a purposefulness there. So focus on that. Say, okay, so I choose to look at this differently. I choose to be less reactive and more responsive. I choose to focus on what's going well and what I want to see as the outcome happening between the two of us, which is desirable and inspirational for both of us, which is motivational for both of us, right? And build on those learning curves about yourself, right? And I think also, to also look at strength and weakness as two sides of the same coin. Sometimes that happens, right? If you're a people person, you're great with people, that's the strength. But if you're a people person, you also are sensitive about what people say about you. That's a weakness, right? So you have to be a little discerning about how you're working with everything in your life and be conscious of it. right? If you got that right, but do the daily practice, because it's going to help you. It's going to become, you're going to become stronger by the day, and the quality of your life will start to change. And that's the beautiful thing, because then you can use that presence as a coach if that's what you've chosen to be, right? So yeah, that's what I would like to add.
Lovely, lovely, lovely perspectives. People have caught on to all the catchphrases you guys have been mentioning. We have time for probably 2 questions. Kunal, Mandar, any questions that you see on the chat that you would want to relay to our panel?
We have one from Ken, although it was responded as well in the chat, but I will quickly read it out. So Ken asks, what could we use to take our clients towards life journeys, especially when many coaching engagements get pulled towards the problem to solve and gaps to fill?
I would say go back to focusing on the person. Focusing on the person, about how he is responding or she is responding to anything that they bring to the table that they are trying to run away from. Right? It's back to the same piece. Yeah.
Alan, Nikhil, would you have a perspective on that?
Yeah, Alan, go ahead.
Nikhil, please go ahead.
I'd second what Denise is saying. It's the typical, that shift from the focus on the problem, which the client is, of course, immersed in and brings, is asking questions really about the person. What, how do they feel they're going, what's going on with them? What are their emotions? What are their, the nonverbal language might show. Is there a belief that is holding them back? Or is there some element of despondency? Or is there some, any of these barriers that typically are there? So if you just begin to bring attention to that through a question, listening to the person describe the problem, or it would come out in their response and to the problem. And that brings the, attention back to the person. And that's their journey, right? Is really something which they may not be used to talking about, but they would quite happily answer a question in most cases, where the question is asked about what they feel or what they think about, a little more generically, I would say, which would apply not just to this problem, but to others as well, a similar category of problems as well. So it's that making that shift to the person that would bring it back to the journey. Yeah, you would find a client who's, only wants to think objectively, just like they would think of how do I solve this mechanical problem, right? Very objectively, how do I frame the problem? It's an invitation to them to look at it more from, how they are reacting or how they are dealing with it as a person.
Thank you, Nikhil. And Lenny, just wanted to add that when you say that, how do you focus their attention to a journey rather than just the problem focus that they seem to have? I think, first of all, checking, are they ready for the journey? Every coaching need not be transformational, though we hope it is. That's a big word personally for me. I shudder when somebody says, I was being interviewed for a large organization to be a coach for some of their senior people. And one of them asked, so tell me about some time where you transformed a team through coaching. And I was taken aback, because sometimes these words are used so lightly. Everybody is not ready for transformation. When you're ready, you will know. And only then the journey begins. Otherwise, many times, very good transactional coaching would do. This is what they want. This is what you get. Okay. But when they're ready, be ready. So, the classic systemic coaching point of view. You can coach the content, or you can coach the structure, or you can coach the process, or you can coach the form. When you coach at the form changes, and that's transformation. Only then there is a transformation. So for me, it's a very big word that has been kind of used very lightly. I don't know how many transformative coaching engagement I've had in the last 17 years. I guess a few. Some getting there, perhaps not up to the form, but to the process or the structure or the content. So I think one need to know, is the client ready for it? Is that what they're really asking? We invite them, like Nikhil said, lovely word, invite them. Are they ready to dive deep? Is it even required in the context? Or is it for another day? Some of them, yes, they are ready. Okay. And you need to be ready with them. And then it's all out. So, yeah, I guess it depends on how you sense the client readiness. Of course, always invite, put a red carpet for a deeper exploration. But sometimes they may decline, is my thought. Thank you.
In the interest of time, is it okay, Kunal, that you can post the messages to the panelists and they can answer in the chat? Is that possible?
We don't have any more questions.
We don't have.
I think in the interest of time, we can move to the next.
Lovely. So thank you so much. I can already see there is so much of excitement with what you've shared, what people have learned, what people have just recollected. I'm sure a lot of it was known to the coaches here, but it is always nice to hear that from another experienced coach. That gives you so much more reassurance. So thank you so much for this amazing panel. And we would like to thank you as a chapter to have spent this hour with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ICF Bangalore, and thank you, Shanti.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, fellow coaches.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.